nahi ho rahi, then you can raise. Okay, let me switch on off my video to have better bandwidth. Okay, so if we talk about your this corporate law paper, so it's a specific kind of paper wherein all the rules and regulations are specifically applicable to body corporates. So how the formation of the particular form of company exists. Can you please excuse me for a second? Yeah. Yeah. So if we talk about the rules and regulation, these are specifically applicable to body corporates. So it means that how the formation happens, and even if we talk about the formation nowadays on online form, what are the requirements, how we can go about it, what are the different documents which are there, which will be legally applicable, and what are the domains, how it is going to be worked, then how the particular management of the body corporate is going to happen. So all the legal rules or the norms we are going to study in this particular paper. Then what will be the return, or how the winding up of the particular section or particular body corporate happens. So if we talk about as per the structure of your paper, so we have the 5 units. Unit 1 is about the introduction, and within introduction, one second. So if we talk about the introduction, the first unit, so introduction basically includes what type of companies are here, what are the basic features of companies are there, then in that particular case, what will be the administration, how the companies are going to happen, what will be the different types of companies, how the different situations or different regulatory authorities play a role with respect to the companies. So in this, from this introduction unit, there is going to be nearly 1.5 question for 20 marks. So this we have to understand. Then if we talk about the unit 2, so unit 2 about talks about the documentation. And if we talk about the documentation, in the documentation, we all are aware of the memorandum, we are aware of the articles of association, how the different doctrines are applicable, what will be the procedures for the allotment and forfeiture of the shares, etc. All these things will be discussed in unit 2, and again it is the weightages of 20 marks itself. If we talk about the unit 3, so unit 3 talk about the management and meetings, and in this which are the different meetings are required, who is going to conduct the meeting, what will be the appointment and qualifications and removal of the directors, what will be the roles of the key managerial person, powers, duties, etc., and how the meetings are being conducted. And even if we talk about nowadays in today's scenario, so video conferencing meetings are allowed, applicable. So what are the different rules and legal provisions regarding the same? It is here. So this again is for 20 marks. And if we talk about the unit 4, so unit 4 is about the dividend distribution and winding up of the company, where the disclosures, practices, and what to what extent we can do so, it will be there. So this is this particular unit is for 10 marks. And in this particular case, we have to study about the insolvency and bankruptcy code as well. And if we talk about the unit 5, so it talks about the Depositories Act. And in the Depositories Act, this particular question, what are the basic rules and what are the applicability or non-applicability, what are the rights and obligations of the depositories, who is going to be the beneficial owner, inquiries and inspection. This particular unit is for the 5 marks. Other than this, if we talk about this particular paper, so we have to discuss the selective case studies as well. So as we talk about the law, so there are the provisions. The provisions are given in the act, and if there are certain conflicts, so the rules are there which we refer with respect to the provisions explanations. Then there is going to be, in business law paper there used to be the real life or daily acquaintance examples, but in case of corporate law there is going to be the case studies or judicial interpretations only. Case studies or judicial interpretations. So here we need to be more focused on the, with respect to the case studies, and the explanation of the certain situations is going to be with the help of the case laws only. So now start with the first chapter or introduction, wherein we have to discuss the meaning and the features of a company, that we are going to start today. Okay, so if we talk about the basically the corporate law, so you must be aware of that earlier there used to be the Companies Act 1956, and after due deliberations and changes over a period of time in the scenarios, and because initially, if we talk about the, say, the concept of business enterprises, just a second. So when we talk about the concept of business enterprises, in form of business enterprises, we are very well aware of the different form of business enterprises, starting from sole proprietorship to partnership to LLP to private company to cooperative societies and to the body corporates. So when we talk about body corporate as a form of business entity, so this body corporate is exists as a form of business entity. So in this particular situation, what happens, that this particular form of organization, in this case, the capital is being contributed or being divided into smaller denomination, which is known as the shares. And these shares, if it is a public company, these shares are being floated to public, and the public investment is here. So when the public investment is here, and if we talk about this body corporate, so this body corporate exists as a separate legal entity. So in this particular situation, what happens, that this particular entity is there, it is owned by the shareholders, but it is managed by the board of directors. So management and the ownership is in the different hands, and similarly there is possibility of the conflict of interest as well. So when there is the interest of the public is being engaged, being involved, so in that case the legal responsibility or the legal provisions becomes all the more important. So this legal domain, or we talk about the corporate law, is very important field of study, because nowadays if we talk about the big companies, they are running their businesses at a greater level. Most of the companies are earning huge profits as well as huge losses. So when there is a profit, the shareholders are being benefited, getting the dividend, etc. But when there are huge losses, or there is insolvency, or there is a winding up of the company, so ultimately the owner is going to lose its money. So in that scenario, we have to understand. Yeah, is there a question? Yes, please.
Ma'am, your screen is not visible.
Okay, it's not visible.
No,
One
ma'am.
second. तो पहले जब मैंने बोर्ड शो किया था तब विजिबल थी कि तब भी विजिबल नहीं थी?
नहीं थी
नहीं थी
मैम।
मैम।
नहीं थी
हम
मैम।
हम हुई नहीं अभी तक।
मैम
Okay,
शुरू ही नहीं हुई।
okay, okay. Let me show it again. I have written it so much. Okay. Let's show it here. Is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
यस मैम।
So when we talk about the corporate laws paper, so this is about the rules and regulation, and with respect to this, we have to understand. And if we say about the 5 units, so the 5 units are the introduction, documentation, management and meetings, dividend and winding up, and depository act. And the weightage is of 20 marks to unit first, second, and third, and to unit 4, dividend and winding up for 10 marks, and depositories act for 5 marks. So in this particular corporate law paper, the main thing is that in business law we used to have journal daily life example, but here if we talk about the case studies and judicial interpretations or proceedings will be discussed in detail. And with respect to the provisions of the act, we are going to refer the Companies Act 2013 and even certain prior things of Companies Act 1956 wherever applicable. And for the explanation of the rules and provisions, we are going to refer your books itself. Okay, so I had started with this first slide I had written here while explaining that if we talk about the body corporate, so it's an entity in form of a business enterprise. So in form of business enterprise, when it exists, so in this particular scenario, this particular body corporate is having a separate legal entity. So they here the total overall capital is being invested or being divided into smaller denomination, which is known as share, where the public invest its money. So there the ownership is with the public or with the shareholders, and the particular body corporate is being managed by the board of directors. In certain situations these are elected by the shareholder itself, but if it is a government company, then the election or nomination would be different. So it would depend that which kind of company it is. So in that particular scenario, the companies might earn huge profits or companies might earn huge losses. So in this case, when the particular companies are earning huge losses, so what is the reason how the particular company is being governed, is managed? So in this particular scenario, all the legal provisions, legal requirements becomes very important. So if we say the form of business enterprise, so if it is in the form of that, if we wish to run it as in a partnership firm or the LLP Act, or we wish to run it as a cooperative society, then the different rules will apply. But in case where we talk about the corporate laws, to which form of business organization it applies, so it applies to the companies and to the body corporates. So by a company we mean that there are a people, there is, it's a association of person who contribute money or money's worth in form of stocks, and these stocks are known as the shares. And if this is the company, it is being offered to the public, so in that case we are aware of the stock market, we are aware of the secondary market wherein these can be traded as well. So we have to understand the structure of the body corporate, we have to understand from the legal perspective as well. If we talk about the legal domain, so earlier there used to be the Companies Act 1956, and if we talk about the existence of the company, so from the olden days, if we remember the East India Company, so existence of a company under the Royal Charter was there. So that time the from that moment the form of organization is well accepted by the people, and the business can be run at a large scale, or if we need to run the business at a bigger scale, then this particular form of organization is suitable. But if we talk about the this particular paper, so we have to understand have to understand the laws, provisions which are applicable on the body corporates. So if we talk about the Companies Act 2013, so this particular act has been passed in 2013, and it has been applicable from that particular year itself. And if we talk about the older version of the Companies Act, so here we used to have the 470 section and the 7 schedules in the new act. And in 1956 olden act, there used to be 658 section and 15 schedules. So it means that this number has been reduced drastically, and it has made more simplified. And nowadays a new concept of corporate governance is into view, which has emerged as a specialized field of study. So wherein we basically try to learn that how the corporates are being governed, how these are being run and managed. So if you get the interest in this particular course, so then as a choice in the final year in your discipline papers, you can opt corporate governance as the paper as well. Now, when we talk about the focus or how this particular Companies Act is being formed, so this particular act it talks about from the formation of the company till the management, administration and winding up of the companies by the tribunal. So it means that from the origin till it's winding up, the complete journey, how it is being run, how the things are to be taken care of, everything is being governed by law. So the provisions of the particular act are applicable at every stage कि उसे डे टू डे एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में क्या लीगल रिक्वायरमेंट होनी चाहिए, उसकी डे टू डे ऑपरेशंस कैसे मैनेज होगा, इवन अगर मीटिंग्स कंडक्ट करनी है तो उन मीटिंग्स का क्या रूल होगा, कितने टाइम पहले उसका नोटिस जाना चाहिए, who all are eligible, what are the legal requirements for doing the administration and management of the company. So from the origin till its end, everything is in the domain of the law itself. Then if there are certain things which we have to talk about with respect to the documentation, so there comes important documents comes in terms of the memorandum of the company, prospectus of the company, then articles of association of the company, then the rules with respect to the appointment of the auditor, appointment of the board of director, how the accounting of the particular company is going to be managed, what will be the rules, how the financial statements will be there, what will be the disclosure practices with respect to the all of the above. All these things we are going to study the rules in the particular paper. Then if we talk about the meaning of the company, so meaning of the company says that if it is incorporated or registered under the Companies Act or under any of the earlier Companies Act. So this 2013 Act is into view or applicable at present. But if the company is registered prior to that and the company is registered in any of the earlier Companies Act, it will be considered as a company as per the meaning of the law. So section 2 subsection 20 defines that a company mean a company incorporated under this act or under any previous company law. So it means the existence of the company or the formation of the company is to be as per the provisions of the law. So that is required, and if it exists as a company as per the provisions of the law, then only the legal rules or legal, you can say, the applicability of legal provisions will be there. So for example, if you are a student of the college, you have taken the admission in a particular college, then the rules, provisions regarding your admission, your we can say the attempt of exam with respect to the internals, all the rules which are governed by the act, or if we talk about the Delhi University norms, all these things will be applicable. So once you are being admitted, then only these rules will apply. So once a particular company is satisfy the meaning of a company as per the law, then only the legal rules will apply in that case. Now, if we talk about the definition, the question comes as the explain the meaning of the company, then you can give a general meaning and you can give one or two definition. If the term comes as a defined company, then you have to take the one or two definitions minimum. So in this particular case, if we say the meaning of the company, so it is said that a company is an association of many persons who contribute money or money's worth to a common stock. So this common stock is, we have already discussed that the capital is divided into smaller denomination or units which are known as the shares. And this common stock, this capital, this money is being employed it in a some trade or business, and who share profit or loss as the case may be arising therefrom. It means that it is a form of a business enterprise where the shareholders invest the money, and this particular business enterprise is run for a specific business, and whatever profit and loss will come, they are going to share the same, right? So in this particular case, this common stock so contributed is denoted in money and is capital of the company. The persons who contributed or to whom this money belong are called members or the shareholders. The proportion of capital to which each member is entitled is known as his share, and shares are always transferable, although the right to transfer to them is often more or less restricted. So it depends that what is the nature of the company, whether the shares are transferable or not. And we are very well aware of the stock market, and we know that in the stock market, if the particular first time the stock is being issued, so that is known as the primary first issue and primary market. And when we need to do the trading of the stocks and the shares, so that happens in the stock market. So there in the stock market, the investment can be only for the speculation purposes, or the investment can be to earn returns and to be part of the business organization. Then if we talk about the another definition by Chief Justice Marshall, so according to him, it talks about the characteristics or the features of the company. So on those basis, it is said that a company is a person, artificial, invisible, intangible, existing only in the eyes of law. Being a mere creature of law, it possesses only those properties which the charter of its creation confers upon it, either expressly or as incidental to its very existence. But we say that when the particular corporate exists as a business organization, so this corporate is having a separate legal entity, and this separate legal entity is governed by the provisions of the law and provisions of the law, and as per the charter of the company, which is being designed by the company at the time of its formation. So it means that if we talk about the memorandum of objectives, so memorandum of objectives says the memorandum of objectives says that when we association that when a particular organization is being run, so what will be its objectives, what will be the business areas it is going to work, what will be the we can say that the rules which it is going to follow, and what will be the domains in which the business can be run, or what will be the amount of the capital it is going to have. So in that case, all the clauses will be given, and this particular corporate is going to be governed by the particular charter. So according to another definition author, a company is an incorporated association which is an artificial person created by law, having a separate legal entity with a perpetual succession and a common seal. So from these definition, we are going to discuss the features of a particular company. Now, in continuation, we say that if we talk about the perpetual succession, it means that once a company has come into existence, its existence is going to be there until unless there is a winding up as per the provisions given in the law. So it means that it continue to exist whether shareholders are there or not, board of directors are there or not, or any particular circumstances. So because it exists as per the provisions of the law, similarly, it is going to be wind up as per the provisions of the law. So if this is going to have the perpetual succession, it is going to exist for long irrespective of all circumstances. And if we say that with a common seal, so as a person gives its signature, gives its identification, so when a company is registered, its registered number identity is being given, which is known as a common seal, and it is having a separate legal entity different from its member constituting it. So it means that if a company exists in its own name. It does not have anything with the shareholders or with the members who have incorporated that company, etc. So it is having a separate legal entity, and for this particular situation we are going to discuss a case law as well. Now we have to discuss the definition as per section 211 of the Companies Act 2013. So in this particular case, a body corporate or corporation includes a company incorporated outside India but does not include a cooperative society which is registered in relating to the Cooperative Societies Act, or any body corporate not have being a company as defined in this act. So which is central government, or may in the official gazette or notification it may be defined that this particular body corporate or this particular organization is out of the preview of this particular act. So in this case, a body corporate can be a corporation sole or a corporation aggregate. So corporation sole means that which is constituted in a single person who has the we can say one person company, or who has the right in some office and the function, who is only alone taking care of the particular organization. So in this particular case, the office of the president, governor, crown minister, public trustees, etc. So in this case, corporation sole is not a body corporate for the purpose of the Companies Act. So we have to exclude. It is still a legal person, as a such person can be member of the company, but it does not exist as a body corporate. Then if we talk about a corporation aggregate, so it is the consist of a group of person together associated with the for a particular purpose, and it may be for the interest that there is inclusion of the company incorporated outside India or within the definition of the body corporate. So in this case, the all the provisions of the Companies Act will not apply. A number of provisions will be applicable. Certain exclusions can be given in the law, but I think at present we don't need to go into that much detail. So the expression corporation is a wider term or than the company. So the corporation or body corporate might include number of entities which may be exist in a company or not. Any query till now?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So now let's move to the, we can say that how the particular machinery or how the provisions of the particular Companies Act applies. So for that particular thing, we have to understand that the central government has the overall responsibility for administration and enforcement of the Companies Act. So for before understanding, we have to understand that how this particular act or law works. So in this case, we can say that the central government is on the top. Let me take the notes here. Yeah. So here we can say that if we talk about the administration of the act, so the central government is empowered, which is on the top or which has the role that how this particular law is going to be managed. So complete administration and enforcement responsibility is with the central government. Then along with that, we have the second body, which is known as the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, which also we call it as the MCA. So this in this particular case, Ministry of Corporate Affairs of Government of India is the nodal agency or the authority which has been given the complete power. So with respect to the incorporation of the companies, with respect to the management, with respect to the accounts and other details, all these things, Ministry of Corporate Affairs is the, we can say, given the authority under the provisions of the Act. The third is that if there are any kind of disputes or winding up of the company is to take place, then there exists the tribunal, and we also call it as the National Company Law Tribunal or National Company Law Appellate Tribunal. So in this case, if there are any kind of we can say the disputes or any other situations, so this particular tribunals have the power or have been given the authority under the provisions of the Companies Act. Then after that, we have the regional directors. If we talk about the regional directors, so regional directors are appointed by the central government for the respective regions. So in the respective regions, they have the authority with as per the number of state and the union territories, and they generally supervise the working of the Office of Registrar of Companies. So they supervise the ROC offices. So regional directors are appointed by central government, and they are empowered to supervise your registrar of companies officers. And if there are any kind of winding up happens and there are official liquidators office for the same, so that is being taken care by the regional director. So this generally supervise their work. Then after that, another body which is important in the company law is the registrar of companies. So when we talk about the registrar of the companies, registrar of companies are being appointed by the central government and under the provisions of the Companies Act. These are the full-time officers which are being appointed for the various states and union territories, and in this case they have the responsibility to have maintained the register of companies, and they have to guide that which are the companies which are being registered, whether the name is available or the payment with respect to the registration fee, with respect to the name change, with respect to the alterations in the memorandum, etc. Everything is to be reported to the registrar office, so that all these records are being maintained by the registrar of the companies. Then there comes in certain situations the official liquidators, and if we talk about the official liquidators, so they are the person that in case the winding up happens, or in case we have to deal with the certain companies in a situation of winding up, so they have the power to perform all these duties with respect to the winding up of the companies. And then lastly, as per the provisions of Companies Act, there is the existence of the special courts. Earlier there used to be winding up of the company, and the other disputes used to take a number of years, and people were very reluctant in opening of or registration of the company as a business form of organization, because it used to take very long duration for the existence or registration, and as well as for the closure of the particular company. So sometimes the winding up used to take more than 5 years. So people were very reluctant to adopt this form of organization. So now the special courts have been established by the central government for the purpose of providing the speedy trials with respect to all the, we can say, activities, and specifically for the winding up of the company. So these are the we can say the special courts are being appointed, or there is a judge who are being appointed by the central government, and chief justice and high court judges within whose jurisdiction that judge is appointed and is working. So this is the, we can say that the nomenclature of the particular, the structure, that who are the authorities, or for which particular thing we can talk to them, or we can for with respect to the legal authorities and powers. These are the different administrative authorities for the corporate the body corporates which are being registered under the Companies Act. Now, if we talk about the meaning of the company or body corporate, so any company which is being registered under the provisions of the Companies Act 2013, or any former Companies Act, any foreign companies or any statutory corporations which have come into existence because of the with the help of the special act of the parliament or any of the state legislator or foreign country, this is going to be included. And public financial institutions as defined in the Companies Act of 2013 would be considered as a body corporate. Any nationalized bank would be considered as a body corporate, and limited liability partnership firms registered under the LLP Act 2018 8 will be considered as the body corporate. But only exclusion is that the cooperative societies or any other body which the central government announces with the notification in the official gazette. So I think this much is clear to all of you. Can we move further with respect to the features and all? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if we talk about the first main feature of a company, it is a incorporated association. So when we talk about the incorporated association, so incorporated association means which is incorporated within the meaning of the Companies Act. Incorporated association. So if we talk about the incorporated association, so we require minimum, we can say 7 persons for a public company and minimum 2 persons for a private company. So if we want to exist, want to register our organization as a company, so we have to fulfill this condition that minimum 7 persons are required for a public company and minimum 2 persons are required for the formation of the company. So their name is to be given, and for the incorporation process, they have to give the, follow the incorporation procedure, and incorporation process is to be followed, complete documentation, filling up the form, all the details, authentication number, your because the original people, those who are incorporating, they will be becoming directors. So who will be becoming director? They have to apply for the DIN number, in whose name the particular company is to be registered. All these things is to be followed. So for that particular thing, for incorporation process is to be followed. So it is incorporated within the provisions of the Companies Act, and all the required things are to be followed. The second important feature is that it exists as an artificial person. So in this case, as a normal human being, it cannot exist, but it exists, it has a separate legal entity in the eyes of the law, so it is considered as an artificial person. So it is when it exists as an artificial legal person, so it cannot enter into the contracts with respect to the personal nature, say the marrying or adopting a child, etc. This cannot be done. But in this particular case, all the things which a person can do as a person can be performed. For example, it can purchase the assets in its name, it can enter into the contracts with the other party, it can sign the contracts, it has its signature in form of which is known as the common seal. So all these benefits or the features are being given. So in this case, if the particular company enters into the contract with the third party, so this is the company which is entering into the contract. So the board of director or the people manager or the people managing in the company will not have any role or any obligation towards the third party. So as a company, it will have the obligation towards the third party. So in this particular situation, there is the person enjoys all the benefits, but it cannot enjoy all the rights of a person as a constitution of India or under the Citizenship Act. So that cannot be taken care of. Then the next essential is the separate legal entity. So if we talk about the sole proprietorship, if a person is running the business in its own name, it does not have the separate legal entity. Even if we talk about the partnership form, it does not have. But if we talk about from the tax point of view, or if we talk about the LLP, it does have the separate legal entity. But in case of the company, it also have the separate legal entity, different from its shareholders, different from its directors, different from any person who are related to the particular organization. So the separate legal entity status is given to the particular company. Now, if we talk about here the role of the board of directors, so board of directors are just here to manage, and day-to-day operation management is there, administration is there, that job responsibility is there. But if any loss or anything is towards the third parties, they cannot hold board of directors liable for the same. So it will be the company which will be liable for the same. So in this regard, we have to discuss 2 to 3 case studies to understand this particular aspect, and generally it is being asked in exam. So one case study is the Salomon versus Salomon case. The second case is Abdul Haq versus Tasmal, and the third case is Lee versus Lee. Air farming. Now we are going to discuss these 3 case laws, and this is going to, we can say, the talk about or stress upon that how this particular separate legal entity requirement is being fulfilled. Let me add a new slide here in between. Yeah. Now, if we talk about this particular case study, which we talk about the Salmon versus Salmon case study. So in this case, whenever we are going to do a particular case study, we have to take care of the 3 aspects. Aspect 1 is the facts of the case, so that we can also talk about is as a storyline. Second thing is that to which particular provisions or the rules of law it is related, and the thirdly, that what was the judgment given by the court of law. So once a particular case study or in particular circumstances the judgment is being taken, so this particular thing is applicable in the other cases and the similar situation as well. That we are very well aware of. So when we talk about this Salmon case, so in this case, if I talk about the facts of the case or the storyline of the case, it says that Mr. Salmon himself has formed a company, because we are saying a company has a separate legal entity, right? So from this aspect, we are trying to understand the case. This from with respect to the separate legal entity, the provisions are related, or this particular case law is related. See, I have a habit, even if I am teaching a theory paper, so I always love to write and explain the thing. So you might feel little odd, but it's okay. So when we talk about this particular case study, so it says that Mr. Salmon himself has, formed a company, and this particular company is being formed in his name, in his own name, plus his wife and daughter and 4 sons. So we require 7 people for the formation of the public company. So 1, 2, 3 plus 4, 7 people were there in the particular company, which were the family people only. And in this particular case, when the company was being formed, तो जो sole proprietor वाला business था, तो उन्होंने purchase consideration अपनी 40,000 bonds जो हैं, उसको purchase consideration में दे दिया, 20,000 के उनको shares allot कर दिए, और 10,000 के उनको debentures allot कर दिए. So this 40,000 has been given as we can say the 40,000 has been given purchase consideration, and the purchase consideration was allotment in terms of 20,000 के आपको shares मिल गए और 10,000 के आपके debentures मिल गए. So now we have to understand from the perspective और remaining आपका जो cash है वो आपने Mr. Salman को उन्होंने अपने उसमें जब business transfer किया, so they have taken that way. So in this particular situation, what is the what will be the rights of the shareholder, what will be the rights of the debentures, if any unsecured creditors are there who have given, from whom the particular loan has been taken, so how they can claim the particular money back from the organization. So this particular company went into liquidation within 1 year period, and there were the liability, outside liability of 11,000 won. So in this case, जो बाहर के outsider creditors थे, they filed a charge that as this particular company is in the name of the family only, so Mr. Salman does not have, this particular company does not have the separate legal entity. So as in the some partnership business or as in the sole proprietor business, the person himself have the unlimited liability, that particular characteristic applies to this particular company as well. So this is the storyline that the creditors, unsecured creditor, have filed a case against this particular company, stating that this particular company does not have a separate legal entity because it is in the name of the family members. So it is as good as a sole proprietorship business or the family business exists. So as in that particular business, the person have the unlimited liability, or there is the rule is that the unsecured creditor or outside creditors should be paid first. So this same rule should apply in his case also. But in this particular situation, the court of law held that this particular company is incorporated under the provisions of law and being wound up in the under the provisions of law and have the separate legal entity. So the plea of unsecured creditors that Mr. Salomon and company are one and same was not accepted by the court. So this was the judgment given by the court. So in this case, facts of the case, that the company was formed as per the provision of law in the name of the family members itself, and the payment has been given in form of the shares and the debentures and partly cash when the particular business has been taken over. But when the particular company was wound up in 1 year, there was a outside unsecured creditor for this particular amount of money who have filed a case in the case of in the court of law that unsecured creditors should be given priority for the payment of their debts over the debenture holders, because this is not a company, this is exist as a particular, as per the law, the outside creditor should be given the preference. But as per law, it was being held that there is a particular company have the separate legal entity, and in that particular case the creditor does not have the plea, but in this case the debenture holders will be paid first, even though the debenture holders are from the family itself, but because it has the separate legal entity, so the as per the rule of the company law, the debenture holders will be given priority over the unsecured creditors. So debenture is the secured payment or secured credit to the company, so it will get the over. So this particular case, we say that it talks about that the plea of the unsecured creditor was rejected on the ground that the company has the separate legal entity. right? So I think the further two more case studies we can discuss in the next class. The time is up, and I'll let me take the attendance, mark the attendance for today's class. Any queries up till now? You can raise your queries.